Hey everyone, welcome to the Tuesday, October 10th SIG release meeting. My name is Jeremy and I'll be the host today. Just a quick reminder before we get started, this meeting is covered by the CNCF Code of Conduct. So by participating, you are agreeing to abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct. We're also going to we're recording this, so it will be available on YouTube. You can review the recording later. And if you'd like to not be on camera or on recording, just fair warning that this is recorded and will be on YouTube. All right, with that, Marco has dropped the agenda into the chat. I'll do it one more time just for anybody else that joined after he did that. If you could add yourself as an attendee, that would be super dope. And with that, we can kick it off. And we'll start off by welcoming anybody that's a new attendee to this meeting. If you haven't attended before or it's been a while, feel free to introduce yourself, say hello, say why you're interested in SIG release. Just pause for a minute. All right. With that, we will jump into our sub-project updates. And first up, we have a general update. Does anybody want to take that from the release engineering side? I can run through it if not.
Yeah, I left the release engineering notes. I can go through them.
Okay, take it away, Marco.
Speaking of the general update for patch releases, we have the cherry pick deadline this Friday, October 13. So please make sure to get your cherry picks on time so that we can review those cherry picks and get them merged. With that, the releases are scheduled for next Wednesday. And I would also like to share a reminder with everyone that we don't have releases scheduled for November because of conflicts with KubeCon, US holidays, and availability of release managers in November. So we are going to have releases in early December instead. Speaking of action items, we have to send a reminder to Kuberentes dev mailing list for cherry picks, along with reminder that we are not going to publish packages to the legacy repositories. I can take care of that and try to get the message as soon as possible. Any questions about patch releases?
I don't think so. If you have any, if you want any reviews of any communications you send up, just let me know and I'm happy to take a look at things. I think under action items, maybe we should probably identify that we should get the Go releases updated before those patch releases. I think Carlos said he was going to take lead on those, but I'll follow up with him on Slack. I think it's important to get those in.
Yeah, the patch releases just went out 2 minutes ago. There is some security issue with net HTTP package. I can share the link, but they just sent it. Here is it in the Zoom chat. So yeah, someone shared it on the Slack as well. So yeah, but that's a very good point. Yeah, I will go to OBS packages next. Speaking of the general update, I have been working on updating docs to remove references to the legacy package repositories because we are not going to publish packages to this anymore. It doesn't make sense to mention these repositories at all. So I created a PR and it is an action item. It is looking for review. Thanks to Ray for approving it. But I need someone to LHTM it. So if anyone has some time, Ravi will be very appreciated. And then that's it for OBS. I'm not sure if we have any more for supply chain security. I am not aware of any updates there.
Yeah, I don't think we have any updates there. I am going to submit an unconference session for the Contributor Summit to discuss some of those topics. So maybe we can have some concrete actions after KubeCon for those.
Okay. And speaking of the LFX project, the update there is that we have 2 major tasks left for the library. The first one is to implement the CRUD operations for OBS packages so that we can create projects and manage these projects, but we need to be able to create packages in these projects. So this is one major task left. Another major task is implementing client interface structs to allow using the library in the same way as our other libraries that we provide. And we hope that this can be done soonish, hopefully next week or week and a half, because CRUD operations for OBS packages should be relatively straightforward, given that we can reuse a lot of code. And we had a session today with Nitish to explain the second task. We provided him with examples that we already have. We are not going to focus on testing for now. We are going to leave testing for later so that we can actually try to complete as much as feature work as possible until KubeCon. Yeah, that's it. And after these two major tasks are done, the plan is to start working on the CLI tool. So that will be the next step. And eventually we will figure out if we are missing any other functions in the library, but that's the plan for now.
Awesome. Any questions for Marco or anyone else from the release team or the release engineering team? I need more coffee or no? All right. Next up, we have release team updates. Priyanka says she wouldn't be able to join the meeting. The updates are below in the agenda doc. Does anyone from the release team want to address any of those or speak to any concerns? Sorry, my dog's barking. I hope it's not coming through the mic.
I'll say I started the Alpha 2 release today. It's going, I think the mock stage should be finishing up soon. So there's a thread in release management or the updates as always. I think that's the only thing worth mentioning.
Cool. I think it's worth noting that we did remove the CAPG conformance job from the master informing board.
Oh yes, that happened the other day, right? Like yesterday.
All right. Any questions or comments for the release team? All right. So I think we're almost through our agenda. We could probably end a little early today. Unless anybody has anything they'd like to add to open discussion items, it's open. Feel free to drop anything in there that you'd like. Arnaud, it looks like you added a topic about registry.case.io regions. Feel free to update us on that one. I'm going to drop a couple of things in the notes while you're talking about that too.
Yes. So hi everyone. Okay, for people I would say new to this meeting and don't have any context about the topic, is mostly registry.case.io in based on specific use case, use S3 bucket to serve basically all the image layers. Currently, I would say it's a cost problem because we spend a lot of money each month to basically we pay the egress cost, and we are over 40K per month just because for S3 distribution. So in order to, I would say, reduce the cost, try to mitigate that, because until now, we don't want to flag that as a problem. We need to roll out more version for registry.case.io. We do this because having a S3 in the region avoid in-region in-region cost, because we have like in-region traffic. So from one, I would say, Docker client to the registry. So the idea is to add more, I would say, S3 bucket, because we have like more than 10 currently. So having that will help reduce the cost. I'm bringing this conversation to really SIG release and specifically release engineering, because launching new region has an impact of the promotion process. So now the image promoter, we need to scan more artifact registry region, and it's gonna take some time. So possible timeout, possible failure of the promotion process, those kind of things. So I'm just basically give you some kind of warning, like once we do that, there's an expectation we might need to promote to 24 artifact registry repository. I don't want to do that at once. I basically want to focus on where the cost is the most, like US and Europe. And later we can extend and see what we can do about the other region.
Marco, you got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. There's one bit that I don't understand properly, and this is speaking of S3. So we are speaking about S3 buckets here. So we want to add additional S3 buckets, if I understand it correctly. But the thing is that this is a dedicated job. This is not connected to image promotion. We have that periodic that synchronizes the artifact registry at S3. And why in that case this actually matter? Like, why do we need to add additional artifact registry regions? Can't we just take one and then just synchronize down to as many S3 buckets as we want, and then we don't care about this because it is happening outside image promotion?
So basically the way we distribute and all different container image is like for a region we need an artifact registry and an S3 bucket. That's what we do. It's like we're trying to match artifact registry and S3 bucket. The S3 bucket contains the blobs, and the artifact registry repository contents basically have all the information about the container image itself, like architectural support by one image, those kind of things. So there are two layers in one image: the configuration of the image and the blob itself. So S3 have only used to be only have the blobs, and artifact registry will contain the information about one container image. That's what we do that. So we don't when basically we say we pick one image and we want to replicate that to one S3 bucket, we just basically put the blobs on one image in S3 and we don't put the rest. So anytime you're trying to pull an image, you will get the information from artifact registry, and you will get the layers of that image from either S3 if you are, by default, it's going to be S3. And if you are from GCP, you get that directly from GCP. That's why it's matter to have, for one region, we need to have an artifact registry repository in a region and an S3 matching region. When there's no S3 region, we define one S3 region close to the source of the customer, from the, I would say, the Docker client. And the problem is basically for, I would say, for all the AI region we have, we don't have the same number of S3 bucket. And it's caused like a cost problem because we pay now for someone pulling from being Germany and pulling from, I would say, Spain or Italy. Because there's no S3 bucket in Germany, and I think that's Frankfurt. So recently, GCP opened a DC in Berlin. So what we do is, like, in order to mitigate costs, having an S3 in Frankfurt. I think we have like one S3 bucket in Frankfurt, but now we're gonna put an artifact registry repository in Berlin, so the traffic stay only in Germany, and we kind of mitigate the cost there. Is that clear?
Arnaud, is that kind of like strategy then, in a sense? Meaning, you know, like once a region becomes available, like maybe before Berlin wasn't an option, but now it's available, and maybe in the future we may see other areas emerge where you may want to match this with an S3 bucket. Is that kind of an ongoing strategy to mitigate costs?
Yeah, it could be something depending on how the technology basically go over time, or how the cloud provider basically define of the pricing. Because I think for, I would say, next 3 years, we want to implement that strategy where basically we want to minimize cost at maximum. Like basically, the end goal is just to pay for the storage on the object storage services, just S3, pay for storage. And the egress cost is basically close to zero. So if we basically in like one situation, we have to move to another cloud provider, we know we only pay for the storage. And because traffic is like in region of the cloud provider, we don't have to pay cost. That's the overall strategy. Because right now we pay a lot for distribution, and we find, because we have our budget help us cover that, I would like to basically establish an end goal where we don't have to pay a lot, just because registry capital is a lot to distribute. Now, it could be possible, but basically it doesn't make sense to basically have basically launch a new region, because it's not interesting from a cost perspective. That's what I'm saying. I will basically want to proceed first step, like focus where the cost is the most, which is US and Europe, and we can see later how it's cost effective to do it in like basically region where egress cost is not a lot. I would say maybe Asia, and see what's happening. I don't have the data basically to explain. I think the meeting of Gates and Fry is tomorrow. So if people want to come, it's going to be recorded. So you can check. I will basically explain the different costs. Unfortunately, I didn't have something prepared for this conversation.
Thanks. That was really insightful. And I think it would be good to have for people that have never dealt with this, a talk would be useful to point them at. Would your KubeCon, was the contributor summit where you guys talked about the registry originally? Would that be a good place to drop that here? Or is there other good documentation that you can point people at for anybody that's watching this recording later?
I can basically put some links in explaining. Yeah, I can put some links in the meetings notes.
Okay.
Just to describe what we're doing.
That'd be useful, I think, just for reference for anybody else. Thanks. Any other questions about launching new regions for registry.k8s.io? Are there any immediate actions you need us to take?
No, I think I want to be cautious. Like I think we are a month away from 129 release, so we're gonna do that post. Yeah,
Post 129.
Post 129. Right now, I'm trying to basically set up the infrastructure, because we need to revamp a few things, and post. Yeah, once 129 is done, we can roll out that.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, well, I added one topic for discussion, and centers around the contributor summit. I don't know if anybody submitted a SIG release specific thing. I didn't see one when I looked at the agenda, but I totally could have spaced and missed one. So would it be worthwhile for us to submit an unconference session to talk about SIG release in general? I did submit one specifically to talk about security artifacts, and what we want to do with that going forward, and how we can help end users, especially with like the noise of scanners and the constant churn of vulnerabilities that are identified in things, potentially through publishing VEX documents. I also submitted one for LTS, which isn't strictly related to SIG release, but I wanted to plug it there. So if anybody's interested in those, you can go thumbs up them on the issue that I linked below. How do people feel about trying to have an in-person SIG release meeting? We've done it in the past, and I think it's been pretty useful. If anybody's going to be at KubeCon and would like to meet and discuss things, we can definitely do it outside of the context of a contributor summit meeting too.
Jeremy, from a leadership perspective, is there any goals you think we have coming out of KubeCon? And what I mean by that is like, would we want to use it as an opportunity to maybe, shore up more hands to join the SIG? Is it more to get people up to date with projects? Like, I'm just kind of curious, like whatever our goals was, maybe that'll help lead us to what we want to do.
Yeah, I think both of those are. I think getting more hands is a great idea. I think discussing some specific things. Arnaud mentioned the image promotion process as a key one. I think that would be a really good thing to have in-person discussions about and help kind of figure out what we want to do differently with image promotion, because it's kind of not ideal currently with signature replication and time rate limiting on registries. So there's some things we could do better there. And I think having a holistic look at it and think about it would be good. I think we definitely want to think more about, and that's why I submitted the unconference session about the security artifacts. It's been a little while since we started doing the SBOMs, and maybe the SBOMs need to be updated. Maybe there are other things we want to include in them. Maybe there are other artifacts that we can produce, like VEX documents. I think those would be solid discussions to have, which is why I submitted the unconference for that one. So I think both would be good. I don't necessarily know if Contributor Summit is going to like net us a lot of net new SIG release contributors, but I think maybe it's a good idea. Maybe, yeah, as Veronica said, Salsa's changed a lot too. It's got a 1.0 now, and we're not even doing the same format. So there's a lot of things we can change. Maybe it's giving awareness to people in other SIGs that are going to be at Contributor Summit about things we want to do and areas where they can help us and how these things could be applicable to sub-projects. So maybe like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, a little bit of column C. I definitely think discussing the image promoter would be a totally valid, worthwhile hour or more if we just did that. But
I think just stepping back from what you just said, yeah, probably given that the Contributor Summit doesn't have, it's generally people who are already members of Kubernetes org. So we're kind of limited, so I think maybe a focused discussions make sense. And then we also have kind of the new, well, it's not new, it's just been like a rebranded meet the contributors type of thing going on, where we could actually, that may be the place to do some, more introduction to SIG release and
yeah, for sure. And there is an issue for that too in Kubernetes community. There's a meet the contributors community sign up, and it doesn't look like we had anybody from release yet. So I'll drop my name. I'm always happy to go to those. I'll drop it in chat, but I'll drop it in the meeting notes too. So if folks want to take a look at it and comment that they'd like to show up, that'd be awesome. All right. Anybody have any other topics they'd like to discuss before we end today? All right. So go back to one thing Arnaud said. If you're interested in discussing the costs and associated things with the registry, Kate's in for a meeting would be good to join. I will definitely try to join that. All right. Well, hope everybody has a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there.
Bye all.